Hey, welcome to the Ready Status Podcast. This is John hanging out with Alisa today. Say what's up.
What's up?
We're going to go through some stuff today that I'm not 100% sure what we're doing today. So today is like eventually when we put this podcast up, there'll be a title and then I'll know what we have done. But as of right now, I'm not 100% sure what we're doing. But we're going to talk about some stuff today. A couple things I just want to run through with you guys. We've released several of the podcasts already, but I appreciate you guys like, comment, sharing, putting stuff out there. That helps a ton. We are going to be dropping stuff soon on YouTube. So you guys will be able to go over there and watch the podcast as well. A lot of really cool things coming. The book is coming. The website is coming. The project that we're working on is coming. So you guys are going to get to see lots of stuff getting released a lot through the month of June. So it'll be pretty cool. And then possibly an event, like we're even talking about doing an event soon. So, but we'll roll that stuff out as we get to it. But what's up? What do you want to roll through today?
I'm not sure what we'll call it, but we're going to talk about tracking and accountability and how that kind of goes with scaling a company. So we're going to run through that real quick. I kind of broke it up in 3 parts. So why this matters, why does tracking and accountability matter at all? What's the real problem that we've seen and also experienced within our companies and for those we've helped scale, and then like real life application. So at the end of this, what can you do to understand how to track, what to track, and kind of go through that.
Yeah, and if you're wired like me and you like hear this out of the gate and you're like, we're going to talk about tracking and what, you're probably like, I'm out, like I'm going to turn this off. Just hang tight because like I don't know exactly what all this means either, but I know it's going to be relevant and important. So just hang in there.
And you get 2 perspectives. So you get like the entrepreneur side perspective, and then you get the operator side perspective as well. So it kind of works for both parties. So the way I look at tracking from an operator standpoint is that tracking is awareness. And I've heard before, and I say it too, like if you're not tracking it, you can't change it. So just in general, thinking about that for your business, but also like for yourself, like outside of that. So one thing that comes to mind for me specifically is like health and fitness. So I work out every day and I eat relatively healthy, but I'm not tracking it, and also wondering why my body fat percentage is not going down, right? So tracking applies to business and it applies to personal as well. And so in my experience, like I've worked inside of companies where really nothing was tracked. A little bit was tracked, very surface level stuff was tracked. And from that experience, really understanding like the bottom line is being impacted. So revenue is growing. We're generating revenue. We're bringing in more money, but our net profit is super low because money's just flying out the windows. We don't know where it's going. We're not tracking anything, right? Employees are being bonused on numbers that really don't mean anything because there's no specific tracking involved in it. And then like fast forward on the flip side, I've also worked inside of companies where literally every single thing is tracked. And there's a big difference between those 2 companies. Whereas the one where we're tracking everything, the bottom line or the net profit is super high, and employees are bonused and incentivized based on true numbers. So, having an awareness and tracking things is like that. But like, tell me a little bit about like, just in general, what you've seen for tracking from like an entrepreneur side.
Well, most of the companies that we get into at the beginning specifically don't have tracking.
Right.
Like they say they do, like, like they're usually like, it's very high level. If you ask them like, questions like how many doors do your guys knock a day? How many sales are you guys making a week? How many contracts did you take in for the week? Like, what are you doing with this and that, whatever? They can give you a general idea of it, but you're like, show it to me on a spreadsheet. And they're like, oh, well, we don't have it on a spreadsheet. And it's like, okay, just like you're saying, then you're not really tracking, right? You're assuming there's a presumptive, hey, we have an idea of what we think is happening, but that's not real. That's not real tracking. Right. Yeah. And you related it to the health and fitness stuff. Like, and I had a guy that I worked out with for a really long time that always said, if you want something to change, you have to track it. If you don't want it to change, don't track it. Because otherwise you're just like guessing. Right. So that's what we see most of the time. We go into places. We also go into places where they like overtrack, right? And that's pretty hard to do, but it's like they've made their tracking so complicated that like even their people don't even know like what metric to follow, right? So there's definitely a right and a wrong way to do it, or a simple and a overly complicated way to do it.
Yes.
And I err on the side of like, we talked about this a little bit before we were doing this podcast, but it's like, I want the teams and the department levels to track to the gnat's ass. Like I want them to know like all the finite details of like all the different things and whatever. And I can even tell them, I could sit with them and tell them like what I need them to track. And there's lead measure and lag measure, and you should be tracking everything in the lead measure, which is all the activity. If you're doing an activity, it should be tracked, right? But ultimately, like me as like the owner, I don't necessarily need to see all of those numbers, but I want to see a summary of the numbers when I'm talking about reporting. And I need to know where they came from. So like sometimes I might see it and I'm like, that one looks strange, or it looks too high, or it looks too low. How did you come to this? And then I need those people to go into the depths of the tracking and be like, well, here are the metrics that support it. Right. But as long as I have a summary, I can make decisions from that summary. But if it's just a willy-nilly number on a piece, that's why asking that next level question of how did you come to this?
Right.
And then they're like, well, we were like looking at this and looking at that. And then we just kind of felt like this. And I'm like, all right, I'm all done with that. Right. Like I'm not going to make a decision from that place. But if they're like, well, we track this, we track this, we track this, we track this, and here are the averages of these things, and here's how we got there. I'm like, okay, that's enough. Like, there's backing to it.
You
right?
trust it because there's data there.
There's real data to it.
Yeah. So that's a big thing. How many times have we heard? I specifically have heard this. I know you have too, because we've talked about it before. But business owners just saying like, my marketing isn't working. Okay, what's not working? Like I've spent marketing budget and I have no idea how many leads are coming in or how many of those
where
are
they coming from?
Right.
Like all the time, time. Like I think it's one of the things, honestly, that some of the, not everybody, but like some of the people we engage with, and it pisses me off because it's like they use this term. They go, I keep getting burned by marketing agencies, or I keep getting burned by like people on my marketing team because like I'm trying to generate leads and I give these guys this big budget and then I get just a handful of crappy leads, and I'm like, cool, like what's the tracking look like? What do the metrics look like? And they're like, oh, well, I don't know how to read those reports. And I'm like, okay, so you're spending a lot of money to learn a very valuable lesson, right? You in the world of business, you can't claim ignorance as some type of defense. Like, oh, I didn't know how to read the report or whatever. That's because you're being an idiot. So instead of being an idiot, why don't you learn how to read the report and learn how to do some of the basic level marketing and understand how these metrics are really measured, so that when you sit down with your team or the people that you hired and delegated it off to, you can have an intelligent conversation instead of trying to act like a victim of your own ignorance.
Right. So, yeah. And I've definitely, from my perspective, working side by side with like a marketing company and an owner, as an owner, you can ask as many questions as you want to get clarity. Make it simple, super simple. Like we'll go through the process at the end, but make it simple. Like understand it as the owner, just ask as many questions as you need so you actually understand where it's coming from.
I think it's important to understand, like when you're first building a company, right? Let's say that you're getting the thing off the ground. You have to be in this phase of like, I know you, even if you think you have to be in this phase of like, I know nothing. I literally know nothing. I don't know anything. And I'm going to go understand all the things I can about marketing, right? Because in order to get a company off the ground, you got to have sales. In order to get sales, you got to have leads. So where do I get leads from? So I need to go just be like, well, I don't know anything about how to go get a lead. So do I do it in Facebook? Do I do it in Google? Do I do it in SEO? Do I do it in PPC? Do I do it in Instagram? Where I don't know anything about any of these things. So I'm going to go learn these things. That's what you need to learn. So long before, if you're going to start a company, let's say you're starting a company with $10,000. Okay. Let's just use an arbitrary number. I'm starting a company with 10 grand. I'm going to go, this is what people do. I'm going to go pay a marketing agency and I'm going to go trust that they'll get me the leads that I'm after, but I don't know how to do anything that they know how to do, but why don't you just take, this pisses me off. So I should be a little more empathetic because I've definitely been here and I've definitely done this and this is how I know it. But this is something we hear so often that I'm just like, I got to vent a little bit with this. But it's like, why don't you just go hand 10 grand to a stranger that tells you that they know how to do marketing without verifying or trusting that they actually know how they do the thing? Why don't you just light the cash on fire? That would be more productive, honestly, because then at least you get some heat from it, right? But it's like, You have to go, if I'm going to give these people, let's say I'm going to give them $2,000, okay, and they're going to help me generate leads. Before I give them $2,000, I'm going to be like, okay, listen, I need you to walk me through exactly what's going to happen in this process. I don't necessarily need to know how you're going to do it. Right. I just need to have a basic understanding of what's going to happen so that I can understand, are we moving in the right direction or we're not moving in the right direction? Yep. That's all I'm asking for, right? Mm-hmm. So if they can't provide you with that, then don't give them the money. Most of these people they're going to be like, yeah, cool. So here's the process we're going to use to get the lead. That doesn't mean they don't need to take you through step by step of like how to turn the Facebook ad on, how to set a pixel, you don't need all that. You just need to know like what's the process you're going to take. Help me understand it. So when you send me a report, I know what I'm looking for in the report. Right. It's basic stuff, man. Like I don't care. And like when you get into I'm sorry, I'm venting and I'm just kind of going down a path here, but I love it. When you get into the uber complicated side of hiring people like us, where you want us to come in and scale the business, right. Bro, you should be, so you got some marketing going, you got some sales going, you got some basic ops going, you got some fulfillment happening or whatever, and you want to scale all of this. Mm-hmm. You should bombard us with questions of like, what are we going to do? Like, what are we going to actually do? Right? Because scaling our process is very simple, but it's expensive. Like the investment is high. Let's not say it's expensive. Like the investment is steep. Mm-hmm. So you need to ask like, what's going to happen? What's the involvement? What comes from, or what process happens first and what process? So when we start doing this thing, and we do this with the people when we start working with them, but we want to have clarity when we start doing the thing. There's clarity in like what's going to happen, so the expectations and the agreements are clear, and we don't end up going crazy. But this all comes back to exactly what you're talking about: the tracking, the level of understanding, the metrics involved in the organization. How do you know what needs to happen? So on and so on. And there's just we always say this. You guys read this all over social media. There's freaking levels to the game. Mm-hmm. So if you're at the very elementary bottom line, like today's day one, I'm just starting now. Yep. Don't get overwhelmed by all of this right now. You have to be where you are, right? Yep. And that means you just, if you're in the 0 level, you got to be in a very open to hearing whatever you're going to, like, I need all the things. Give me all the data. Yep. When you start to get the thing off the ground, then you're going to have a different set of ears to hear from. Right. A little further. But I mean, we'd be lying if we sat here and said we have all the things figured out. We don't. We still go into companies that are doing massive amounts. Yep. And we're going to learn something here. Like we're going to be able to learn from our clients just as much as they're learning from us.
Exactly. So, continuous improvement for sure. I don't know how you feel about this as an owner entrepreneur, but for tracking, I think when you're not tracking and then you start tracking, the data can show or exposes like inconsistency. Mm-hmm. So you may think, okay, we're getting 10 leads a day. And you think that, but then when you actually start putting the numbers down on paper and tracking it, well, that's not actually what's happening. Mm-hmm. So there's an emotional aspect of tracking too, I think, that goes into it. And tracking has to be done regardless how you feel. Yeah. Like it just is required. It's not complicated,
the
but it's
emotional
required.
Side of tracking. So let's just say like the tracking pisses me off when I'm assuming and I'm not actually living in the data. Yeah. So when I'm and so listen, like most business owners, myself included, we tend to think the pie in the sky is way better than it actually is. Yeah. The thing is doing way better than it actually is. But tracking levels the playing field. Yep. And most guys avoid this because they don't want to know what the real numbers are. They want to know I like my fictitious numbers way better than the actual numbers. But you don't have the feeling or the emotion with it when you actually just live by the tracking. Yep. Right? When you just look at what is and regulate yourself emotionally with what is, mm-hmm. and then be like, okay, well, that's less than what I thought it was, or not as doing as well as I thought it was, or it's actually doing better than I thought it was, and resolve the emotional part, and then stop living in the emotional side of it and just like live by the number, the metric, the whatever, right? There's a human element to that, right? Yeah. So just so you guys are clear, like we make a lot of decisions by numbers, but also there's a human element that goes mm-hmm. into it too, that you have to take into account. But we don't steer the company. We're not going to help scale or steer our company in a specific direction ever based on how someone feels. Right. So there is a human element that goes into that. We'll maybe talk about that on a different podcast, but the directional part aspect of it on how a company gets steered or where it goes is a number thing.
Right.
Yeah.
No emotions attached to it,
Yeah.
which I think, speaking on that too, for us to help go into scale a company, we have a different perspective and a different set of eyes when we're working with the business owner.
Yep.
Because if you are the business owner, it's your baby. So
Yep.
you do have an emotional attachment to it. When we come in as like a third party, we're not attached to the business to start. It's like we're just looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
So we're able to make more of an objective decision based on where it should go, which I think is what you were saying.
Well, a lot of times when we first start and somebody reaches out to us and they're like, hey, we want your help to help us scale, we usually have them give us a summary of like where things are, right? And they, I won't say like, they give us a summary that's usually a very pretty painted picture.
Yep.
In most cases, some cases they're flat out honest and they're just like, hey, I'm not saying the other guys are lying, but they definitely curtail some of the issues. And one thing we do is we're just like, okay, we hear you. This all sounds great. Sounds like things are going good. Sounds like we're clear on where you need help. And also we're coming to your office.
Yep.
Like we're going to come in there and we go in there with the purpose of where is the hidden element that's not being addressed? Where's the elephant hiding in the room that needs to be exposed and just put out on the table so everybody can see it and be like, okay, here's the real hard conversation, right?
Yep.
We all can see it now. You probably could have seen it before. I'm not saying you are omitting the detail, but here it is, right?
Right.
Are you open to changing it or not?
Right. Exactly.
That's what it comes down to, right? And so that might involve, like you're talking about, you don't have real good tracking. You don't have real good systems. You don't have real good processes. You don't have the right people in the right seat. You don't. Your Uncle Bob might have to go. And sometimes that's the case, right?
Right.
We're a family-run business. We're all family in here. Great. But Uncle Bob drinks at his desk all day long, and that's not going to work.
Right.
So he's going to have to go.
Yeah.
And not because I have a feeling about it, but the metrics, the numbers say that's the best decision in order of the business. Or you can keep Uncle Bob. Let's just bury him in a corner somewhere, pay him his salary. Don't let him be involved in the inner workings of what's happening.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah. Awesome. I think sometimes too, and you can speak to this, entrepreneurs maybe feel like tracking gives them less freedom, but I would say it gives the opposite. It gives more freedom. And I think kind of it goes back to what you were saying, like when you are at a certain level and you have employees who are tracking literally every single detail and they're bringing you a summary. I feel like that would give you more freedom, but speak to that kind of, do you feel strapped by having to track the numbers or do you feel less?
It gives you less freedom to be an idiot. Okay. And it gives you more freedom to make real decisions by like, so like if I'm willy-nilly spending cash because I'm looking at the top line revenue and I'm like, damn, there's a lot of money coming in here. I see collections coming in at a really good clip, but I don't want to make amends or really have an honest conversation about the bottom line. Yep. And I'm just willy-nilly spending cash. I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, essentially, is what that's called. Then I'm being an idiot. The depths of which you should track. I mean, we could maybe do an entire podcast on that.
Right. I think it grows as the business grows.
100%.
So when you're a small business, let's say 0 to 5, and I would say from an operator standpoint, and you can speak to this too, if something is frustrating me or something, I'm irritated by something inside the business, like why are none of the leads converting? I'm going to track that because it's a contention point inside the business right now.
Yep.
So as the owner or as a high level leader inside the company, if something is irritating you, causing you stress, that is what we're going to track. You're going to start there. And then, like you said, John, and then when you go from 5 to 10, something else, like you've gotten that down. How do these leads convert? Okay, that was a trigger point for me. We've gotten that down. Okay, now we're moving and we're growing in revenue. Now what's my trigger point? Something else is going to come up. It's going to frustrate me, cause me to want to pull my hair out. Okay, now that's what I'm going to track. I'm going to figure out exactly how to track that. And then as you grow, you're adding on from there. And that's how you go from high school to the pros, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's like if you're asking yourself, if you're starting to feel frustration about why you don't know why something is happening, it's likely you're not tracking something.
Right.
Because that, it's just like a lot of times in the meetings that we used to have in some of the companies that we were part of, you walk in and everybody brings to the table whatever they're dealing with for the week. There's like a set of problems or a set of things that they're typically dealing with. They've done what they could to try to resolve the issue, and now they just need like the team, the managers or the leaders to look at it and go, help me through this.
Right.
It always starts with what do the numbers say?
Yep.
What do the numbers say, right? And if they're like, well, we've never tracked this before.
Yep.
This is something new, whatever. And it's like, okay, then to resolve the problem, we have to get clear on what needs to be tracked. What's the outcome that we want from it and what needs to be tracked.
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. We were talking a little bit too about accountability because that kind of goes along with tracking. So what does accountability look like once you have the tracking in place? So I would start, let's just get specific with like, we keep talking about marketing, but marketing position. So we have a position outline or an agreement with an employee. These are the targets. The targets are 15 leads a day and a 70% conversion rate or whatever. We have an agreement. We're tracking the data now so we can see how many leads are coming in and what's the conversion rate. We have a few days where we're missing the target. Now we have a conversation with the employee.
Well,
what are we doing?
I think you, let me just say this real quick. I think you have to go back to, because you're saying like we have an agreement. How did the agreement get created? Right. So it's like, that's something that's really important that you guys understand. You guys are listening, understand is like, Alisa and I and the companies we work with don't operate in the space of like expectation. We operate in the space of agreement. So what that means, the difference is like, we're going to sit down and get clear on what we're trying to do or what the goal is or the target is of what we're working to accomplish. What is your part in that? What is my part in that? Make sure that we're in agreement with all of that and then move forward from there together. If I just hired Alisa as the marketing manager or whatever, I would never do that, but to you, by the way.
Thank you.
But if I hired Alisa as the marketing manager and I'm just like, here are some targets that you need to hit, make sure that you're doing whatever is necessary to make sure these targets, there's no agreement here, right? And some people would say, well, the agreement was made when you hired her and she said she could do the thing. And it's like, no, that's not how it works, right? Like we have to be on the same page. Like this is how we're going to do it. This is what is going to happen. This is blah, 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 blah. Here are the things we need to track along the way, so on and so on. And then we can make decisions from that place.
Right. Yep. Okay. Perfect. So accountability kind of goes along with that. We can have a whole podcast on position outlines and employee structure and clarity, but we have an agreement. The data tells us something. We create metrics based on that data, and then we continuously track the data. If something's off pace, then we have a conversation. And when we have that conversation, like me as an employee to you as the owner, if the employee is doing everything within their power, then maybe the entrepreneur, the owner needs to give something else. Like maybe something on their end is not provided in the right way, if that makes sense. So it just has to be a conversation, and then we pivot and adjust from there. Is the data right? Is it being tracked right? And how can we move and pivot and change from there?
I always struggle, like people use this term all the time, or they ask us this stuff all the time. How do I hold my team accountable? How do I get them to do a specific thing? It's like, okay, so I always say this, you're like saying it as though holding someone accountable is a verb. Like show me, go demonstrate, out in the wild, go demonstrate holding someone accountable.
Right.
It's like, it doesn't work that way. Like what the terminology of holding someone accountable is there's an agreement. You guys agreed that one person would do one thing, someone else would do another thing. There's a clear agreement. When someone doesn't do their part of the thing, accountability looks like both sides first taking ownership of their role in that disagreement or breakdown, right? So it's like, did I not give you proper training? Was I not clear in my communication? Whatever. That's me owning a possibility of a breakdown on my end. Then the other person says the same thing. You gave me great training or whatever. I've just been struggling with a thing and not being sure. And so that's on me for not bringing it to you sooner. I can't physically hold, as an example, if this was a conversation that Alisa and I were having, I can't go to Alisa and be like, well, you're breaking this stuff down and you're causing a problem. That's not what accountability looks like. I'm not holding you accountable in that space. You have to hold yourself accountable. I got to hold myself accountable. And what we're holding ourselves accountable to is the agreement. So that's so important when people literally ask us, how do I hold someone accountable? The first question I ask is, what's the agreement?
Yeah.
What's the agreement? Like, let me see the agreement. Is it in writing? Is it clear? Are we on the same page? Are they on the same page? Are you on the same page? What's the agreement? Okay, number one. The second part. Are you doing everything in accordance to the agreement that you said you would do?
Yep.
Demonstrate. Let me see it. Bang, 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 bang. Okay, cool. Your side of the street is clean. Let's go to them and have a conversation now.
Yep.
And so when I sit down, if I was having this conversation with Alisa or someone like that, I'd be like, okay, so we have an agreement. This is what the agreement looks like. We on the same page. Yes, we're on the same page. Okay, great. So I have done this. I have demonstrated this. I have done this. I've given you this. I've so on and so on. In all of what we agreed to do, did I fail or drop the ball somewhere? Yes or no? And they're going to be like, if I did, then they're going to say yes. And I'm like, okay, cool. Where did I mess up?
Yep.
Where did I let you down and what I was supposed to do? You didn't cover this or this or this. Dang, that's on me. Okay.
Yep.
So what I've just done in that space is I've held myself accountable.
Right.
The greatest form of accountability is self-accountability. So that's what it looks like to be accountable, right? And then on their end, there would likely be an agreement of them doing the same thing. Like, okay, so if all of my stuff, all the boxes check on my end, then the agreement in that is that they would also go, okay, so I was supposed to deliver X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Did I fail somewhere? And I'm just like, yeah, the metrics here are not adding up. Can you tell me what you need or how do we get together and make that happen?
Right.
And then that's what it looks
Create
like.
a new agreement.
Create a new agreement if we need to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, because sometimes guys, like, you create an agreement and the agreement feels good out of the gate or whatever, and based on the current numbers, it looks like it's going to work and whatever. But ultimately, it's not real, right? But what you can't listen. I'm going to tell you something, and this is a really valuable lesson. You guys might want to write this down. What I don't have the right to do as a business owner, just because I'm cutting you a check every week or cutting an employee a check every week, is to take my will and put it on you as though you should just accept it because I'm the boss and you're the subordinate or whatever. It doesn't work like that. You're still a human being. So I have to get buy-in from you. Like, is this something, I can't just go to you and say, at least I need you to generate 100 leads a week. Like, that's what I need. I don't care how you do it, but I need you to get 100 leads a week. Even if you agree, you're like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. This whole thing is convoluted at that point,
right?
Because we haven't talked about how and why and what it looks like and we haven't fleshed out the details. So at some point there's going to be a breakdown where maybe you generated 99, but 99 ain't 100.
Right.
So I'm going to try to quote unquote hold you accountable to you agreeing to 100. But in fact, we never came to a real agreement, and it's messed up.
Right.
So yes.
Awesome. So the next part of this is how to start tracking things and then how to actually build accountability. So I'm going to take you back to like 5th grade English with the who, what, when, where, and why. You remember that?
How?
No how.
No how.
Who,
Okay.
what, when, where, and why. Okay. The 5 W's. Okay. That's what we're going to go with. So who is going to track the data? Right. So who is responsible for that? Is it you as the owner? Is it an employee? So if it is marketing, is it a marketing employee? Is it sales? Is it a sales director? Who's tracking it? Then what exactly are we tracking? So if it's marketing again, are we tracking the number of leads? Are we tracking conversion rate? What are we tracking? When are we going to meet to discuss it? Because information that's tracked and never discussed is basically just pointless information.
Yep.
So when are we going to meet? Is it once a week? Is it every other week? Is it twice a week? What does that cadence look like, and when does it need to happen? Where is this going to be tracked? Are we doing a spreadsheet? Are we doing a CRM? Are we pulling a report from a CRM? Where are we tracking it? And then why? Why does this even matter?
Right.
Why does the tracking matter?
Yep.
If it doesn't matter and there's no point and we haven't discussed when we're going to track it, then you're wasting your time, or an employee is wasting their time.
Yep.
So when you think about tracking and you start to work on who, what, when, where, and why, that's what we're going to use.
Yep.
If you don't have one of those 5 W's, then there's pretty much no reason to start the tracking on that particular thing.
Yep.
So when I said earlier, there's a contention point or there's something that's causing me frustration, I know that's what I need to track. I need to make sure I have the other 4 Y's to go along with that, or W's to go along with that, so that we can fully make sure this is going to work and be a long-term solution.
Yep.
And then you build from there.
Yep.
So that's like keep it simple. Like you've talked about this at the beginning. Simple versus complicated. Keep it super simple.
Very
That's
simple.
all you need.
Yep.
Okay, what do you want to track? Figure out who's going to do it, where you're going to put it, and when we're going to meet about it. Like just keep it super simple.
Yeah,
I would say don't overcomplicate it.
So like in the beginning, especially if you guys aren't doing this on a big level, one of the things that I would strongly suggest at the very beginning, you build checklists. Checklists for this stuff are very, very important, right? So you're going to hear me if you haven't heard me before in the past. I always equate things to like being a pilot in an airplane, right? So if you're a business owner, you are the airplane pilot. So you can't just get in the plane and be like, I don't want to know what all these knobs do, or like how to do a flight pattern check, or like how to check the plane before I fly. I just want to fly the plane. We hear this crap all the time in different language, right? I just want to be the guy to fly the plane. That's who I am. I got other people checking the plane, and like, this guy over here is putting the gas in, and this guy over here is the mechanic and whatever. What do I need to know why or whatever? You've got people's lives on board, man.
Yep.
You've got a lot of souls that you're responsible for. When they come to work for you and they start to trust you, they're also going to trust the fact that you not only know how to fly the plane, but you know all the inner workings of the plane. You know how the plane works. You know how to track the pattern. You know how to flip the buttons. You know how to do all the things. Doesn't mean you have to be an expert in all the things,
right?
But it means you know how to do all the things, right?
When the employees or the grounds crew brings you their summary of data, you're going to know how to interpret it.
And how to apply it.
I know we got gas in there. They told me that.
Yeah.
But do I have a measure of the gauge now?
Yeah.
Right?
Can you show me a report of how many gallons actually went into the tank?
Exactly. And is that sufficient to take this flight?
They're
Yes,
like, and we hear this all the time too. Well, I should trust that guy. Like that's his job. I should trust that he knows how many gallons are supposed to be in or whatever. Okay, cool. Until
that works one time.
That's exactly right. Until the one time, bro, like has maybe he's got something going on at home. He didn't have his coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
His brain is foggy or whatever. And bro puts like not enough gas, and you're like flying somewhere, and the gas light comes on, and you're like, damn it, bro, like we don't have enough fuel.
Right.
And then you got to emergency land the plane.
Or you don't emergency land and you crash. And now we're all done.
That's exactly right.
So yes.
Yep.
We trust and we verify.
Yeah.
So we do trust that he's going to do his job, but we're going to verify it based on the data.
So let me give you like a real practical example of like what we're talking about crashing the plane, right? So in 2009, I went bankrupt. I had a company. I drove a company into bankruptcy, right? Mm-hmm. And when I really look back on it, when I really surveyed the damage, and I'm like, okay, what really happened here? I had one organization crushing it, doing really, really well. The numbers were all there, whatever. I went off and tried to do a second thing, and was the same level of tracking, detail, all that stuff was not relevant or present. Mm-hmm. And so by default, when that one tanked and hit the ground, it took all the other things out with it, right? So I think people just don't understand this. You bring up the word tracking, and I get dizzy. Mm-hmm. Right. Like, and so a lot of entrepreneurs are the same way. They start to think about the details and the tracking and the reporting and the whatever, and they bring all this stuff up, and they're just like, oh, I got somebody on my team that handles all of that because I'm not built that way. And I hear all the excuses and whatever. Okay. I get it. Right. I get it. Right. But if you don't discipline yourself to the point and you realize how necessary this really is, like, if you were to ever engage us and you brought us in and you're like, help me to scale. And I'm like, let me see your level of tracking. Are you bought into tracking, whatever? And you push back on that, I'm out because I'm not going to play the game with you and risk the lives of all the people you're trying to bring on your team and your unwillingness to actually get into the details of why it matters.
Right.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up. I have two questions that if you listen to this podcast, I would ask them to yourself at the end and kind of make a movement from there. The first one is, what are you currently avoiding tracking? Because you probably have something in the back of your mind that you know you need to track or you're frustrated about inside the business. So think about that. Like when you're done with this podcast, think about this question, write it down, and then take some action to implement a tracking system from there. Who, what, when, where, and why. And then what's one thing, this kind of goes together, but what's one thing you can start measuring tomorrow that you know will make a difference in your company?
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
Those are the two.
Yeah.
You ask yourself those questions, write it down, and then take some step or some movement in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then, email us if you have
Yeah,
questions.
that's what I was gonna say.
Questions at thereadystatus.com. If you get into this, you ask yourself those questions and you're really not sure how to move, just send us an email and we'll jump in there and help you out.
I guarantee you there's people listening to this podcast right now that are built like you, and they're just like, I'm going to go play this to the guy that's running our company.
Yeah.
And like, if you guys need help with that stuff, like you want me to call them and be like, bro, you got to start tracking stuff. Like just like Alisa saying, send us an email at questions at the ready status. But there's also guys listening to it like me that like, let me just like say this to you, like, bro, for real, tracking is everything. It's everything. You got to, like, you can't, I won't even let an employee go if I don't have metrics that drive why I have to let them go.
Right.
Unless it's something egregious, right? But otherwise, like, there's got to be data to back the thing, or it just, we ain't doing the thing.
Right.
So,
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Ask yourself those questions and email us if you have questions.
Like, comment, share, all the good stuff. Wrap it up.
See ya.
All right. See you guys.